With the release of the Ardennes 1940 and 1944 campaign expansion to Easy Red 2, the developers are finally attempting to portray the first and last implementations of blitzkrieg warfare within the game. This campaign is priced at under $6 American, or two-thirds the price of the base game. This price is what I consider fair, as the only people purchasing this campaign would be those interested in the content it offers, and those looking to further support the developers. I would not consider this to be a must-have expansion, and I do not believe the developers intended it as such. With that said, it begs the question as to whether or not this campaign is worth purchasing, the topic of this video presentation. As this expansion is split into two separate campaigns, I will first be covering the earlier example, the 1940 invasion of France. It contains 6 missions, all between France and Germany, with the latter as the attacking faction for two-thirds of them. Presentation-wise, this campaign displays an excellent depiction of French flora and period-accurate architecture completely distinct from other campaigns. Combined with the new graphics options, Easy Red 2 has arguably never looked more visually pleasing, and you can safely turn your HUD off at any point in this campaign and take a screenshot worthy of a desktop wallpaper. The new weapon models, sounds, and animations are in line with those of the highest quality already present in-game. Vehicle models are detailed and distinct, as are the uniforms for both sides. Optimization seems similar to other campaigns, though the addition of heavily forested areas did bring my moderate tier machine down to the low 50s on high settings. As for gameplay, the invasion of France is considerably slower paced than the later war campaigns due to the exclusive use of bolt-action rifles for all soldiers excluding squad leaders and gunners. While this takes a toll on the weapon variety, the bolt-action-oriented gameplay of Easy Red 2 is what I would consider one of its strongest aspects, so the experience does not suffer on that alone. The notoriously bipolar AI performs acceptably well in this environment due to the general lack of large urban arenas, but there were still instances when the bots on the attacking side refused to advance to the objectives, and, on the defending side, stayed put in obviously useless defensive positions. The vehicle AI also has its struggles, with the Panzer II seeming to be attention deficit, sometimes focusing exclusively on enemy aircraft even if surrounded by enemy combatants. Overall, however, it's not any worse than most other campaigns and is simply a showcase of the current AI intelligence, which the developers are well aware of and are consistently working to improve. Finally, I could not help but notice the lack of any French anti-tank guns besides the 155mm cannon, which I never saw the AI utilize. The 25mm Hotchkiss or 47mm Pax gun could have easily been added, so this omission is disappointing and does noticeably hurt the gameplay on missions where the Germans have an abundance of tanks. In terms of technical issues and nitpicks, they thankfully are few, however must be mentioned. The hedges present in the forest areas completely block vehicle movement, which can make navigating around them frustrating when paired with a strange movement phenomenon I've dubbed slingshotting. What I believe is happening is as you hold the W key, the vehicle builds up momentum even if it is stuck on something, and once you wiggle yourself free of that obstacle, you suddenly lurch forward at a rate much faster than if your movement was unimpaired. While hilarious at first, this can break the immersion and I hope to see this fixed. In summary, while this campaign has its issues, I still think it offers a gameplay experience unique to all other campaigns and capitalizes on it well. And though I wouldn't say it's worth $6 on its own, the second half of this expansion has an opportunity to tip the scales. Set 4 years later in the same region, the Battle of the Bulge campaign contains 7 missions on a similar-sized map to the French one, and with the Germans only attacking for 2 of the 7 missions. However, the missions generally span a larger area in their structure, so it may take longer to complete this campaign than the previous one. Once again covering presentation first, while this campaign does not have the same thematic opportunities to make use of the entirety of the game's graphics, being set in a foggy, snowy environment, it is still visually distinct from the other campaigns. Uniforms, buildings, and vehicles have all been given a winter revision, which adds to the unique aesthetic. This campaign generally ran well, but at times I experienced significant frame rate drops that I could not decipher the cause of. The gameplay of the Battle of the Bulge campaign is largely similar to the Anzio campaign, with two largely technologically equal factions against one another. Where the gameplay differs is in the larger emphasis on vehicular combat, with the addition of new tanks for both sides. These tanks add to the gameplay experience, with the Sherman Jumbo being a personal favorite, but the pitiful vehicle AI can often be seen failing, especially as most missions have multiple tanks on the field at any given time. However, infantry combat can be quite solid, especially when the Americans are defending. Finally, it is worth mentioning the flawed spawn points on certain missions. In some instances, the attackers spawn closer to the objective than the defenders, and times where both sides have to cross large open fields with little protection to get to the objectives were unfortunately present. These problems, while uncommon, existed throughout the campaign and brought down the experience. It is a shame some areas don't seem to have been thoroughly playtested in a paid expansion. As for minor gripes, the absence of the M24 chassis is disappointing, as this was the battle that the vehicle first entered service in, and I was surprised to find it wasn't included. In contrast, the erroneous American use of Sherman Fireflies is carried over from the Anzio campaign, an addition that really has no place considering the 76 Sherman and Jumbo are already suitable combatants against the German tanks. In summary, this campaign portrays the Battle of the Bulge faithfully and admirably, despite the multiple gameplay issues within. This then presents the question of whether or not this expansion is worth purchasing. I would comfortably recommend this campaign to those who are extrinsically interested in the historical battles that these campaigns portray, as they do represent them very well. However, those looking for a radical change in gameplay will likely be disappointed here, as only the first half of the expansion comes close to achieving that, a cost-to-content ratio that I personally do not find favorable. Having provided all the information that I can, any feedback is welcome, and there will hopefully be more Easy Red 2 presentations in future. Earlier example, the 1940 invasion of France. It contains 6 missions. Oh, for